what is leading to the recent dip in auto sales today? Is a rebound on the way? What can be done to speed it up? Obviously, we want some answers, so I spoke with Jessica Caldwell. She's the Executive Director of Industry Analysis at Edmunds.com. She had some good perspective. Jessica, most Americans need cars for their personal and their professional lives. Why is this trend happening?
Well, I mean, I think that, transportation is so important to the United States. I think you look at some other countries where there, is a lot of city transport, which is true for the case of some American cities, but certainly not all. We're definitely a bit more spread out with our land. So I think that people, they need to have vehicles to transport themselves, wherever they, may need to go, because we're not necessarily also a country that works very close to where we live either.
It would make you assume that car sales are just going to go up and up and up, but that's not necessarily happening with American Auto.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had 7 years of car sales growth. And then in 2017, we saw it fall back a little bit. And in 2018, we expect to see some of the same. And we do see a lot of vehicles out there on the road. I mean, right now, if you look at the number of vehicles on the road versus registered driver, we're at the highest point we've ever been in U.S. history. So we do know that there are vehicles.
You know, the raw data probably doesn't tell the full story itself. You also have to take into account domestic and global dynamics, I would assume. How do those come into play here when you're talking about the American auto industry?
The auto space has been so globalized, and I think that has come even quicker in the past, I'd say, decade. I think you look at what's going on in the developing countries in China and India and places with massive populations that are just now starting to enter the car market is going to affect obviously how we consume cars here, because we have these automakers in which always held that the U.S. was sort of the holy grail for automobile development and also sales, but that's not necessarily the case. I mean, China has surpassed the United States in terms of auto sales.
I wonder if I see these numbers and I'm an auto worker or I'm married to an auto worker, should I be worried?
It definitely is always a worry for auto workers, in terms of plants moving, because it's not necessarily moving out of the country or moving, someplace else, but it's also moving from place to place. Sometimes production shifts as well. You have these car factories, which in 2008, 2009, when gas prices were very high, they were very busy. They were making lots of cars because people wanted fuel-efficient vehicles. That sentiment has shifted. More people now are buying pickup trucks and SUVs. And so now those factories are very, very busy. So, there is certainly some shift in there.
Looking out, do you see another bump coming? Because the population just keeps growing, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's always cyclical. And even though we talk about sales declining in 2017 and 2018, if we take a historical look going back even to the 90s or even the 2000s, we're still pretty high from a historical perspective. I mean, auto companies are still able to maintain levels of profitability. We're not in those dark ages of 2008 and 2009 where it was like, is the company going to make it? Are we going to survive? We're going to go bankrupt? What's going to happen? Yeah. So it's a bit of a different dynamic. So I think, right now the cycle is going down a bit. I think we're not going to see the depths of what we saw.